This will be the fourth STS in a row that goes up on YouTube without any videos. And we're not intending for this to be a STS only YouTube channel. We're in fact intending it to still be a YouTube channel with channel. It's a tough word to say. Tough word to say. With shorter content that I think we were known for more.
It was largely established with the short form parkour edits.
Mm-hmm. But podcasts are easier. I mean, for us, like the mission that we kind of set on in the fall was like, let's just try to see if we can do this weekly. Mm-hmm. And in fact, we can, even with limited content and things going on in the world of parkour. It turns out that we can actually record a podcast every week, and so we're doing it. But we also need to put up other videos, and the last couple weeks it's been tricky to get content for that sort of thing, and so you're left with just episodes of STS.
Well, it's not that we actually even have a shortage of content. There are like some videos coming in the pipeline that we just need to get done. So
I was editing a bit today. We're gonna have. I actually decided because I vlogged most of my trip, and after going through it today, I decided it needs to be 2 videos. It's actually too much stuff for one video. So it's going to be 2 videos, and then we also have a youth team vlog that we recorded. So we do have some stuff that's on the table. I was trying to think, what's the metaphor, the saying, the kitchen one? No, cutting. It's not cutting room floor. That's like not what I'm trying to say at all.
It's on the kitchen counter.
Oof. Anyways.
It's in the preparation stage.
Yes. It's we got some food prep going on.
We got some.
It's getting diced up.
We're chopping up the onions in here.
Yeah.
Why did I turn into a New Yorker?
Because you're Italian.
Hey,
it's coming out.
I am Italian.
But yeah, that stuff's coming. And one thing we were talking about
Italian American though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Before we started recording today, I keep bringing up this issue, and we're kind of talking about potentially a plan to not post full episodes of STS on the channel anymore, because they live on Apple Podcasts, they live on Spotify, and we can also post videos on Spotify.
Right.
But my concern has been that when we have weeks like we had recently where we have like 4 episodes in a row, that people don't want to click the thumbnails anymore because they assume it's going to be a long STS episode instead of an actual video. So I'm concerned that we're losing the attention of people because we're just posting like hour-long videos that aren't much of videos, they're just talking heads instead of actual content.
It could just be that we're boring. You know, if we had like more of a Josh style of just like, hey, welcome back to this week's The Movement. You know, we just go be more animated. Do you want to be more animated?
Yeah, but look at how much trouble he's having putting those on a weekly basis, though.
You know, but he's editing, but he has to edit it. Mm-hmm. But if we are just on, you know, if we just level up our animation and our discussion, maybe people will watch it.
I'll bring some pre-workout into the chat.
I was gonna make a coffee before we came in here, but I failed to do that. So you're getting boring old Rene and Tom over here.
So one solution that we've talked about, and this is actually one that I'm quite keen and motivated to do, is to actually start taking out sections of each STS episode. So we have like a topic, like one of the topics that we're going to talk about today, and we could basically then do what everyone always asks us to do, which is put video and image accompaniments to that talk. We're not going to sit down every week and have an hour-long podcast and try to trim it down and everything and put videos and images on that, but we could potentially do that for a 5 to 10 minute video, and it would actually give us more content, as they say.
So you mean like take an excerpt of one of our conversations where we're maybe talking about a video or we're talking about something, and then edit it down, or edit it not edit it down, just chop that out and then add in visual aids, if you will.
Yeah. And so if you're listening or watching right now and that is something that you would like to see us do, I'm pretty confident that people are going to want to see that on a weekly. And then
you never know unless you try.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things too, where I think if you were to tune into our YouTube channel and you would see a 10-minute diced up talk about Jules' new video with some visual aids with it, and that would maybe make you want to go listen to the podcast, or you're like, hey, cool, I got one of the topics this week. That's all I wanted to tune in for anyways, and it was a nice engaging 10 minutes versus an hour-long conversation with some other things sprinkled in that maybe people would want that more.
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's definitely people who are consuming STS on the YouTube platform, so they would have to go to a different platform to hear the conversation. So Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So, but I mean, it's probably like 5 people, right?
Yeah. Hi, Tom's dad.
I don't even think he was.
I tried to get my mom listening to, like, I went into her YouTube and I like rung the bell.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. So she's gonna get notifications every time we upload something.
Well,
yeah, because she like my mom, she gets our like Instagram posts and everything, and I was like, oh, there's a bunch of other stuff you could see if you want to see your son.
Yeah,
a little more.
Yeah, I think. Well, it's really long for an outsider.
Yeah.
To want to like spend the time to do. Like, so like, even my dad, like, he loves everything we do, but this is probably one of the things he just doesn't have the patience for.
It's a little long.
He is retired though, so I mean, he's like, what else is he gonna do? But we got Dom watches.
Yeah, thank you, Dom. Thank you for all your comments, Dom.
Yeah. There's definitely some locals who tune in.
Yeah, and I just, so every week we say, leave a comment. This is actually something that I would really like to get some feedback on, because as I said, like, I'm convinced it's something I'm pretty motivated to do, because I could see, instead of just posting this on YouTube with like a little intro and stuff like that, just stop doing that, cut out a nice 10-minute segment each week, put them into a folder, and then when we run out of weekly videos to do, or if we want to try to increase our video count on a weekly basis, we just pull one of those sections of an episode in STS, put in some images and some video aids, and then boom, it's a nice, more easy to digest piece of content. And some of the evidence that I'm using for this too is we did this months ago, and I felt kind of dirty doing it.
Over a year ago, I think.
Was it over a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about one of the teams that we're actually going to be talking about today, which is Wizzy Gang, when they did Chalke did the Cork the Manpower.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, a big part of that was the thumbnail that I used for it, but it was a shorter video. And so it's like you get thumbnail, which is the topic, and it was just basically a cut of an STS episode. But you're clicking on it knowing that you're getting into 10 minutes instead of over an hour.
Yeah.
So, and that did better views. Like, that was the experiment, is those two chunks, because the other chunk that I pulled out was talking about Sebastian Foucault, and those two chunks had much higher view counts than the full episode of STS.
That's true.
So,
yeah, something
happened there, but I'm pretty convinced it's the move to make. If you agree or disagree, please let us know. Anything else going on with the YouTube that we need to?
Well, do you want to put a call out for somebody to do it?
Yeah, we are looking for an editor. So if you or if someone you know would be interested in helping us with YouTube edits, drop us a DM. You can email me at rene@originsparkour.com, and I'd love to talk to you about doing some work.
Amazing. Well, it would help us with all this backlog of content that we've got. This great content that we're gonna be just putting out into the world on this channel, this YouTube channel. Hit the bell and stuff. Wait, let's dial up the energy a little bit. Hit the bell. It's time to get into the next topic.
Yeah.
All right.
Before we get into the next topic, I wanted to. There's a little. Well, I wanted to preface the next topic with what I realize is a fairly strong bias. I will say, not to take away from anything that we're about to go, because I do think it's worth people's time. In fact, what I'd actually like people to do right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, pause the video, go into the description, click the link for Juls' new video, and give that a watch, and then come right back so you can hear us talk about it.
Oh, so this is you said we weren't going to go to the topic, and then you just started talking about the topic.
I said I wanted to preface the topic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But you said before we go to the topic? All right. The topic is Juls' new video.
Just before we start gushing over it, just wanted to, just say there is a strong bias. There is a strong bias.
In fact, it's so strong. It's ridiculously strong. Yeah, so Juls, a.k.a. Jewel, a.k.a. Julian.
The artist formerly known as Julian.
The artist formerly known as Julian. He is a local. He's from Vancouver. And largely been kind of quiet on the scene, if you will. Not really posting much. His Instagram is pretty dead. He occasionally will post some crazy stuff.
I had to figure out his Instagram handle. I had to search it out to figure. I was what happened to? I was trying to tag him, and I was where did Juls go?
Yeah, you can't find it anywhere. Yeah. And I actually know why he changed his Instagram handle and what it means.
Okay,
but I'm not going to share that on this podcast because he needs to be shrouded in mystery. Because
does that have to do with painting by any chance?
So Juls is a
I'm gonna take that as an artist. Yes. All right.
And so this video, Juls, self-titled, Juls, is a video that was actually filmed entirely in the winter, and it's the sequel to Jewel, which is actually the sequel to Yo Jewel. So he's actually been involved in parkour for, I think, 11 years now. If we count about when he started, which was...
Well, did he start 2012 when we opened, or did he start because we opened in September 2012?
Okay, I'm gonna show you an image really quick. Okay. We're not gonna put this on the well,
is it an image of him?
It is an image of him, but it's also an image of us. Mm. And
because we opened this.
That's Jewel right there.
This is
summer camp photo. 10-year-old Julian. Okay, it was very blurry, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then we've got you, Rene.
Yeah, long hair me.
We've got me over here. Yeah. We've got Bodie. I think this is Holden, by the way. Is that Holden?
That is Holden. Put that up there. Put that up there real quick. You gotta get a bit closer there. You can see.
That's Holden.
That's the bag.
Sure. Okay, so that's kind of crazy because do you know what that's from?
Is that our first camp?
Very first camp. That's our spring camp.
Okay.
So the very first camp that we ever ran at Origins.
That would have been now time 2013.
Exactly.
Okay.
So 2013. That's 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So Julian has been, I think that was his first exposure to parkour. It might have been a little bit before
It wasn't that. The adult classes that he was hiding under a box going to?
He definitely started coming to those after. So he was 10 or 11, I guess, mm-hmm. right? Oh man, he was not actually a very standout kid.
Mm-hmm. Strong bias. strong history here. Long
Here's the strong
long
history. But
yeah.
this is the interesting part, is that there was nothing about him back then that was like, this kid's going to be good at parkour. This kid is going to stick with it.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even remember him from this camp.
Yeah, not until you showed me that photo.
But what's crazy about it is he stuck with it, and he actually was probably the hardest worker of anybody in the friend group that he came up in. Definitely not the most talented at the time, but the hardest worker, and he's grown to into his own style in a very unique way. Mm-hmm.
He's one of those kids that had like a quick switch in progression, where it was like, oh, he doesn't appear like I think he wanted to learn how to do a backflip at one point when you were doing private lessons with him, and then got that down after probably quite a lot of work.
It was very hard for him to do a backflip. And within a short period of time after that, he's doing swing cast full, like...
It was a quick, just such a, almost like a month, like night and day difference between like, I can't do one trick to I can do a lot.
He was doing double flyaways at 13. It was pretty crazy, the progression that happened with him. Anyway, we go way back. I mean, he even came on, like, as a teenager, he came on trips with us to Colorado. He came with me to Boston. And yeah, he was ingrained in the culture. And then he disappeared. He disappeared actually a few different times. He was kind of in and out of parkour over the course of this 10-year period. Mm-hmm. And then I think more recently, he's still kind of in and out of parkour, but he put out a video, Juls, with a very different style of where he was before with his movement. And then, and that was about a year ago when that came out. And then he put out Juls, which he wanted to do as like it would be cool if I did this in the winter, like just film the whole thing in the winter. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it is kind of dark, dreary.
Well, it's like flinging muck, but also kippa, like full of life, where it's a lot of night shots.
Yeah,
a lot of shots that you can't quite see what's happening.
Yeah, but the ones you can see, super cool. But yeah, it's like 5 minutes of just pretty raw movement, and with such an animalistic kind of style is the way that I would describe it.
I'm glad you said that. That is the perfect word.
He's kind of a wild man. Like, he's actually a very different person than when he was a teenager. He's got like long hair. He's got this beard. He just kind of like moves with this like really untraditional style.
Yeah. It's somewhere in between, like, because I used to always think of like Rodrigo, who's another a name drop for someone from this side of the world, right? Not from Vancouver, from Victoria actually, so on the island, but has been featured in Origins content, has been kind of like a mainstay in the parkour British Columbia scene for a long time. And he's always someone that's like, I've always felt moves like an animal. And in fact, like he would say he draws inspiration from like squirrels and things like that. But Juls is like another level of that, you know? And I think it's, he's really, if I had to like try to describe this to a person, like what's he doing different? You know, cause I think we had the video showing the other day, we were showing some youth team, kids, the clips, and then Liam comes up behind us and he's like, oh, this is very Bean. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that, but also no. And I think a big part of what he seems to be doing is really connecting with what flows. Like if we had to, you know, if you had to define like flow in parkour practice and in style practice, whatever, he's really piecing things together where it's like, this is where my body's moving and I'm going to naturally go with it. And that shows up in his landings, that shows up in his hand placements, that shows up in his, all of his movement choices really is just this concept of everything just flows together and there's no real wasted movement either. And he's not running out of shots. He's not he's not necessarily looking like he's trying to get after a bang. Like he just kind of finishes something, and it's like the flow ends, and there's like a gesture away. Like
yeah, it's so I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, I had the privilege of filming a couple of the shots in his video, and then he put the video out that night, like 11 p.m. or whatever. And when I filmed it, actually, like one of the shots I filmed, he did basically a macaco full over a rail, and on one of the takes, he like landed it and stayed on his feet and was like, oh, okay, yeah, that could work, but I'll do it again. And then the last take we did that he ended up going with, he landed it and then kind of like one hand cartwheeled out of it. And I was just like, interesting that he liked that one. He didn't need to have the perfect stomped landing, I guess is what I'm saying, is like he was like fine with the more just like, oh, I landed and then like kind of moved out of it, and I'm happy with that too.
I think it's something that to like also to Finn Kubit, to his credit too, is I think they both voice this where they want to do things that feel good. They're more into, like, if they're going to complete a line, it's almost like it shouldn't feel hard. It should feel and look easy.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great attitude, like, some of the time. Sometimes you're going to be trying to squeeze something out that, like, feels really hard, but yeah, oftentimes, like, particularly on video, like, if I record myself doing something and I watch it back, if I actually made it look easy, even though sometimes making it look easy it doesn't look as impressive most of the time, but I'm still happier with it because I didn't feel like I did anything weird, you know? Like when you're really trying to squeeze something out, like you end up typically doing something with your body that is a bit off, a bit weird, a bit, I don't know, abnormal. Like, you know, habits kind of start to show, right? Whereas like the easier it is for you, or the more you're able to make it look like it was easy, the nicer it looks.
So what I think is so cool about this video, all right, so there's many things that are really cool about it, but one of the things I think is really cool is that he came from a instructed background. Like he was our student. Like I did years of private lessons with him. He was in classes for forever. He was part of our youth team for several years. And so he came from a more structured, instructed kind of background of like, and we're very traditional parkour oriented.
Yeah, but he was also quite resistant to it.
He was but he still did it all. Yeah, and yeah, you're right. He was resistant to it, and he definitely always wanted to move to the beat of his own drum. But even in what he wanted to do when he was a teenager was stick the landings really nice and like, you know, he wanted to work on like really high level freestyle moves like cast fulls.
Can I just drop a name real quick? I feel like what he was doing before was trying to be like Ellis Torhall.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to do what are the biggest, newest, most rare tricks that are objectively hard.
He was,
and how clean can I make them?
Heavily influenced by Alfred Scott and Sean Batista, which at the time, I remember the first time I saw swing casts, it was from those two guys doing it back to back. And I was like, whoa, that's a cool move. And then sure enough, Julian came to me during a private session. He's like, I need you to teach me swing casts. And I was like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to film you trying and see if I can help you analyze it. We'll watch video and we'll kind of go through it. And I played, and a large part of my role with him was just to support him in what he wanted to learn. And, I'd film him, show him video, and try to provide feedback where I could. But at the end of the day, he's trying to learn stuff that I was nowhere near able to do. And it wasn't also even my background to be able to support. I wasn't quite, he quickly became better at flips than I was, and it wasn't a surprise why. But I guess what I'm trying to say is he was very traditional in his movement before, whether it's being instructed by us or whether it's looking to the like style beasts of the day, which is really gymnastics influenced. To now he's, I mean, like Liam said, is like, oh, it's very bean. It's like, yeah, it's bean in that it's non-traditional, but it's not exactly. He almost doesn't even fit in that box, if you will, right? Yeah. He's kind of in his own world. And what's so cool to me is the threading and roll influence that comes through, which is really funny because I never ever taught him how to do a thread roll.
Wasn't interested before.
I mean, I never taught him that. I mean, I did make him do a lot of rolls because I felt like at the time rolls were an important skill to have in your repertoire. So, but I definitely can't take credit for the rail rolls that he's doing now because I never taught him or like anything. He's doing those on a level that like, I mean, the last shot of the video is like I don't know how he even thought to do that, let alone trying to execute it. And I don't know. Go watch this video.
Yeah,
so
there's
cool.
One of the things that I actually brought up about Juls. I can't remember how many weeks ago on because we were talking about him. We were talking about like he'd come back to the gym and he had come into like and so like this is where he's been because he was doing dropping into like advanced classes, and I'm like, what do I do with this guy? Because his output is also big, which you don't really get a feel for in his video. But like I'm talking about his parkour output, his jump ability, and his ability to pick up cues for like your traditional parkour movements, very high. But one thing we was talking about a few weeks ago was just we need to kind of categorize this type of movement where he will, so the concept being like, I'm going to flip over a railing, or I'm going to hurdle a railing, like I'm going to jump over it, but I'm going to intentionally like clip and brush part of my body. Right, because you say rail roll, and I don't know, like, yes, he's rolling, but it's almost because he's so, and I remember when people started doing this, when people started like Webstering over walls, but it was like they would touch their back. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like, if you're really comfortable doing a Webster, and you're really comfortable, like you Webster over something, essentially all you gotta do is just dial it back a little bit and, roll over something with your back touching it. And this is like a style that I have a lot of appreciation for. One, because I can't really do it, but also I just think it's so cool in an execution sense. Like we started talking about execution in relation to SPL and our judging criteria, and how execution should really be a big part of it. Shouldn't just be like how clean your landing is, but like how much style you can put on something. Because you were like reading off, we were going deep down the wormhole of skiing, and you were reading off like skiing criteria, and that's what they define as style. And it's like, I have so much control and mastery over what I'm doing that I can add some style onto it. I can add some flavor onto it. And I think that's exactly what that. It's not shin sliding. It's not that. It's like, again, the concept of like, I'm going to jump over this rail or whatever, but I'm going to intentionally like touch, like I'm going to intentionally sweep my shin on it. And it's not going to look sketchy. It's going to look like that was intentional and it was cool.
Almost think about it like it's similar to like in skateboarding where like, it's not, I'm trying to like clear over this like fire hydrant, but I'm intentionally going to kind of clip it with my trucks and still land and roll out. It's like, it's almost kind of like that.
Yeah. Even in b-boying as well, like just different ways that b-boys will hit like freezes, where there was an evolution of this where originally b-boying like freezes and stuff is like you're on your hands, and then it's like, I'm just going to drop onto my forearm. I'm going to drop onto my shoulder. I'm going to drop onto like this part of my body that kind of looks like it should hurt, but it clearly didn't hurt, and I'm excited to see more of that in parkour, like different ways that type of idea can be actualized, because we still are very much like a hand and foot, type contact of movement.
Yeah. I mean, like Valtteri's video, he did like the shin double side thing.
Yeah. Like we brought it up like, a couple times, and it's just, I don't know what to call it, but it's definitely a thing, and definitely something that I get. It gets me up,
Yeah. Oh. There's like so many little pieces in the video that make me like, I literally watched it, I think probably 10 times. And because I'm like, what is he doing here? Like, he's like kicking off the wall after he flipped. Like what flip was he even doing to allow him to be in a position where he could kick off the wall?
I think that's what the bean comparison comes in. Mm-hmm. And like he definitely does some stuff that's off axis or whatever, but I don't feel like he's trying to replicate or resemble anyone or anything sometimes with a lot of those like variations that he's throwing.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
do you know what? This is very funny. Sorry. Do you know what Gloria was saying to me today? She's asking like, "Would you ever put Juls on STS? He might have some interesting things to say." And I was like, "Oh, that kid, he might."
I mean, in general,
you can ask him these questions.
He actually has a ton. Like he's like, I mean, I think he has a ton of information in his head about like the way he thinks about movement and a way he thinks about parkour. I think he kind of shies away from cameras though. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't think he would want to, because then there's this, now there's this external pressure of, I need to be talking to a camera. Mm-hmm. I don't think he would be super into that, but he definitely has a lot of interesting things to say. So like, I definitely enjoy my conversations with him because he doesn't think the way I do. Yeah. But I don't know, it's been so cool to like watch him grow up and become really like a total shift in personality from teenagehood to adulthood. Mm-hmm. And also with that, his movement has changed drastically. So he's like in parkour right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if like over the next year he kind of falls out a little bit and then comes back in again. Like, cause it's just, the way he was telling me is like with everything he does in life, he's just kind of like riding waves. Mm-hmm. It's like sometimes he's like on the incline and really into it, and then other times he's just like, oh, I'm gonna go pursue something else. And he is a multi-talented individual, so it's not surprising.
Yeah. All right, closing thoughts or message on the video?
Yeah, he told me on Saturday when I was with him that he didn't feel like he has anything to offer parkour.
Weird. And
then the video comes out, and it's actually getting quite a bit of views. People are like really noticing it. And so I told him, I think you have lots to offer parkour, but I think this is my closing thoughts here is that he clearly does have something to offer parkour, and I think people are gonna pull inspiration from his video. It's like, to me, it's like, I hope this kind of inspires him to continue moving more rather than, walk away again for a year.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Until the next Jewel variation video comes out.
All right, should we move on to the other, I guess kind of the other side of the spectrum of parkour?
Very much so. So,
I told you to check out Wizzy Gang's latest YouTube video.
Yeah.
You did. And this is the video where most people are probably familiar with the Instagram posts that have been like routinely like they keep posting the same gap and people keep sharing it because it's I think the title of the YouTube video is like, we broke the record for roof gap, which is
break the record? It was a question, right?
Yeah. Whatever. Not the point, not the reason we're talking about it, but it is a really impressive roof gap that gets jumped, gets flipped and everything. And there is what I would call like a documentary of it is there their YouTube video. But having watched it now, I'm curious, what did you think of the YouTube video?
You could also call it a vlog.
Yep.
But it is definitely like a short form documentary piece on how they managed to pull off this stunt. Well, yeah, so I watched it. Very engaging video. It's a whole mission that they go on to make this happen. And it involves literally schlepping bags of sand to the roof of, I think, a rooftop in Thailand. Yeah, it's very entertaining. What's interesting to me is that there's this group of guys all with these backpacks on that are filled with such heavy sand, doing a mission to get it up there. And there's somebody who's there with a camera filming it all, who's probably actually not carrying any sand. It's like, I want that guy's job. It's the easiest role in the whole thing, right? Just capture it all. I thought that was very interesting. They're store-esque in a way, but they're almost not. They're not kind of falling into the challenge, what's it called? The trap of doing YouTube challenges.
Man, you almost make me want to go on a store tangent here, but I'm gonna resist.
But here's the thing, gang, Wizzy Gang isn't getting crazy high views on their videos. I think this one only has 40K views at the time of us talking about it. Which is it's a really good amount, but consider how much effort is going into doing it.
Yeah.
They literally spent a couple days planning out how to pull this, pull the gap off by trying to find a bunch of sand, moving the sand multiple times with multiple trips with just backpacks, and ultimately mustering up the courage to jump it and flip it, getting kicked out and everything. So this whole process it's a lot of effort, and then filming it, editing it, obviously spending the money to go to Thailand is part of it. So, and what are they getting out of it? 40,000 views on YouTube. Doesn't seem like the ROI is there. They're doing this for the love and hoping that it will eventually pay off. But man, do they deserve for it to pay off? If the quality of these, the quality of these videos are really high, and it's the type of content that makes parkour look really cool.
Yeah, there's quite a few thoughts, and part of the reason I wanted to bring this up is not just the video alone. So that's kind of what sparked wanting to have this conversation, was that I've been subscribed to Wizzy Gang for a while, and this is actually the first video I watched. Don't know why. Pretty clickbait thumbnail, wasn't super into it, just had nothing else to do, clicked it, really glad I did, and now I need to go back and watch more. Because if this is kind of the amount of effort they're putting into their videos, I think it's worth my attention, it's worth everybody else's attention. I think one of the challenges they're facing is actually language.
Yeah.
They're French speaking, which it's definitely one of the more popular languages in the world, but it's definitely one that's also falling out of favor. Less, I've heard people say before, French is dying. There's just less people speaking French, and so they have great subtitles. But if you're looking at drawing someone in right away and getting them to know, I don't know the characters yet either. I know a couple of I know Chake, and I know it's either Louis or Louis Maynard. Because they both have prominent YouTube channels. There's probably another guy in there I'm forgetting who's also pretty
Instagram,
big.
You mean?
Or sorry, Instagram. Yeah, they both have big Instagram followings. But yeah, I have yet to just from watching that one episode, I don't really have a grasp of the characters yet, and a lot of that due to the language barrier, and also just they're not making a point to say hey, this guy's going next. like I knew it was Louis doing the front flip because he would, that was kind of what went into there. So I think that is potentially hurting their growth, which kind of sucks. I wonder, I don't think they're going to listen to this, but I wonder if any of I'm sure one of them speaks English well, and I wonder if they started to bring in actually more English into the vlogging, if that would help some, because otherwise they're just relying on subtitles, and there's just more people speak English. It's just what it is,
To me, so I watched part of it with Caroline, who speaks a little bit of French, and she started laughing at one point because they said "mission de la night," which is night is not the French word for night.
Yeah,
but he said they basically called it a night mission instead of like a mission de la nuit or whatever. So like it's interesting when you see English creeping into the French. And that happened a few different times where they use like more like English influenced words. But yeah, I agree. I think the French is actually really like hurting them because the vast majority of the parkour world uses English. And even people who are not native English speakers still use English as it's the lingua franca. It's the language that people use around the world to translate for other things, right? It's like if you have a German person and a Dutch person, they're going to communicate in English. They're not going to like speak each other's language. If you have, so the same thing with French is ideally these vlogs are in English because most people will be able to use English. But I guess they can read it too. But if reading English is difficult for you, and that's a problem as well.
Well, I just think about like the amount of kids that probably watch, or could be watching.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, Wizzy Gang also they won the Store Award for Best Team, which we didn't really touch on when we were reviewing the Store Awards, mostly because wasn't really aware of so much of what they're doing. But it makes sense because I think that award highly favors the team that is putting themselves out there more. And the Store actually like threw some shade at Fat during that segment because Fat wasn't at the Big Wall Open, but Wizzy Gang was, and Wizzy Gang threw down. And it's funny because I remember like Jimmy the Giant made a video saying like Fat was the future, and I think that's definitely not true anymore. I think you have some guys on Fat who are extremely talented, but they're doing pretty like just that doesn't seem to be putting as much into their YouTube edits as Wizzy Gang. Like Wizzy Gang really seems to be about the production, about like we're gonna go find a big stunt to do. They both
their camera equipment is better, and their knowledge of how to produce a film is better.
And they both make similar like thumbnails and whatever. And one could argue that Fat maybe has the more diverse talent or whatever, but yeah, Fat just seems to kind of be doing the minimal requirement to be a team of like we're gonna go out and train and film it.
Yeah. And
then if something big happens, which it probably will, we'll put it in the thumbnail, see what that gives us. Wizzy Gang is like, we're traveling somewhere, we're going to do this big stunt, there's going to be this whole production on the stunt, like you talked about the manpower gap, how they like built a thing, whether you like that or not. It tells more of a story, and it certainly makes for better content too, when it's like there's this preparation involved for something. So yeah, I think they're poised to probably be a standout for this year again as well.
You mean for a Store Award?
Yeah, just in generally in people's minds of like who's the team that's like standing out the most.
There's nobody else that I can think of that is topping them.
Yeah, even like their Instagram content too. It's never like when I think of like Chalky and I think about Louis' Instagram, it's never like training clips. It's always something big. Like if you scroll through their Instagram feeds, it's always roof gap, giant dive Kong, big cork, big double cork, something. It's never just like here's a line. Which I mean, it's kind of almost like to a fault because like they would get more content if they were like posting. Because I'm sure the guys on Wizzy Gang do have just training days where they're just doing smaller things, but they just don't post that stuff.
So it's true for those two guys, but I did try to find like some of the others, and some of the other guys on the team, maybe the less known ones, are doing or are posting things of like lower to the ground movement or lines or things like that, not like just huge gaps or roof gaps or big corks or big flips or anything like that. So yeah, it's true for like some of like probably the top guys on the team. Less true for some of the other team members. But yeah, I guess I kind of wanted to talk briefly about the theme of both this video and the manpower video, which is, I don't know if this is the theme, but the spot modifications. Spot modding. We've had discussions about this before. We've had debates around this, whether this is a good thing, a bad thing, a neutral thing.
Yeah.
And I think I can appreciate the videos while still being a little bit critical of the actions happening in the video. I feel less strongly about this one with bringing sand up than I do about the manpower one.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the manpower one too, because I remember when we first brought it up, I said, I don't really care. It's like some plywood. And then you like showed me and were like, no, you got to watch the video and see like how intricate this stage they built is. And now actually after going there and knowing like how high the ledge you got to, and how tiny the ledge you got to step up in is, and like how hard it would be to, I'm going to say, actually cork the manpower gap. It's quite different. Having said that, if you frame this as, which they're not, but if you frame, and you mentioned this earlier with the word stunt, where it's like they're a stunt team that does parkour, they're doing parkour stunts, but they're like a stunt parkour team, then to me it's like completely forgivable. But when you start saying like, okay, this is world's first at this spot and we built this thing to modify the spot in order to make it possible, then yeah, like I think it's totally okay for people to have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, I guess the thing with the manpower is that it's like, it's annoying that they just left it up there, and it's a popular destination to like parkour tourism, to go there and try the manpower gap, and then now you've changed it, or you've left basically trash on top.
Are you aware if they responded or not?
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just curious if there was actually like a response to that, or if they care or not.
Well, like somebody went and cleaned up their trash, basically, it was the way it was framed, and I kind of agree with that. In the case of this one in Thailand, I feel less strongly about it because it's not like a destination gap that people are trying to go to. It's also not trash, as it's just sand.
It's gonna wash away.
It's gonna, exactly. So I feel less strongly about it, and they also got kicked out, so it's like, what are they gonna do? Try to pack it all up in their backpacks and bring it down again? That's unlikely to happen. But there is something to be said, like adding sand to the landing definitely made it easier and safer. Is that the right move? I actually think yes. Like probably smarter to do that than to just eat it on concrete and hope that you don't like dislocate a shoulder when you try to roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like this concept, like the manpower gap. Also, the funny thing about it is all those rocks on the other side.
Right.
Like that. Some people choose to stack up, and some people choose to just leave it as is. But that does exist on the other side of the gap, and it allows a lot of people to do it because it removes a lot of the impact. In this case, they brought up some sand, and as you said, like it's probably a good idea because they're looking at a gap where it's like, we think this is the biggest roof gap anyone's ever done, and it's a concrete landing. It's not like a roof landing, where there's some give. It's a concrete landing. We're not sure what it's going to feel like, but we're pretty confident that if we pad it with like a little bit of sand, that it's going to be okay. And it was.
Yeah.
And no one got hurt, Perfect scenario.
Yeah, I guess I think it's just really funny that the only two Wizzy Gang videos I've watched are both around spot modding so that they can make it possible.
Yeah.
I guess they alluded to the fact that it probably is possible to do it without the sand.
Yeah.
But it's just way more risky that way. So it's just better to be safe than sorry, if you will. Sorry.
I thought it was a really smart idea too. Like I would have never thought to bring, and it's because I'm not. I've never in as long as I've been doing parkour have I thought I am going to try to push the biggest gaps. You know, I'm going to try to do bigger. I'm going to try to have more airtime than anyone else ever before.
I think they said it was 23 feet.
Yeah,
which is like it's huge. I mean, there's a sizable drop too, right?
Are they doing this for feet, or are they? Like are they?
Those are
shoes?
hands.
Are they? Are they doing these
that?
feet, or is it
or real feet,
or did they,
I don't know.
take a
They
measuring
said
tape
feet.
out? Yeah,
they said feet.
But see, I don't trust anyone who says feet that goes by the metric system. I just don't, and it's been proven because I know I see it. I see people say like 12 feet all the time, and then when they're asked, they say like, oh yeah, my shoes are exactly a foot though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that. I would prefer if they posted meters and centimeters, because then I would believe them.
It sounds more precise when you say meters or centimeters. It's like you care more about it.
Speaking of,
the problem is I always have to do the conversion. It's like how many? Like 180 centimeters.
Come on, you got. It's how hard to convert.
It's hard. It's hard. I have to pull up my phone and look up a conversion calculator. I don't know them. Like
Just Google. Just Google it.
Yeah.
But speaking of meters, Leo Urban, in his video, he says manpower is a 5 meter drop. I'm going to say that is wrong. I'm going to say it's closer to 4. But I think he said 5 meters because he did it barefoot, and he's like, yeah. But anyway, I think it's close. I don't know how he would have measured it. Also, it doesn't appear to be something you can measure. I think he's just guesstimating, maybe. Let me know in the comments if it's true. If it isn't, manpower is in fact a 5 meter drop.
I don't know. Is that what it's 12 feet?
No, 12 is like 4 meters. Yeah. Or like it's probably like 13 feet. It's like 4 meters.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, back to Wizzy Gang. Just to kind of like wrap up a bit of like what you were saying there about the spot mod and the leaving the stuff. Watching their vlogs, they don't seem like they're troublemakers. In fact, they actually seem like pretty respectful. Like they're trying to get their stuff. No, I'm wrong. They're troublemakers. Dang it.
They're also the team that like stops buses so that they can do jumps onto them. Yeah. And I saw one where it was like one of them. I don't know if it was in a vlog, but one of them did a 360 dive roll onto a bus, which was like really cool. But then he drops down and a car like slams on their brakes, and then he's running. He's like, "Yeah, I did it!" And it's like, okay. It was a cool stunt, but it was also super reckless and irresponsible and kind of a dick move.
Well, that explains why they're leaving their stage up on the manpower gap.
Yeah. So, but again, but here's the thing: they're making really great videos that are telling awesome stories. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I'm just going off of like the watch of the recent video where it just like they seemed like good. Like there wasn't anything in that video where.
Yeah, I mean,
seemed like they were causing trouble.
They're kicked out of security, and they're going up and fist bumping them and saying thank you and stuff like that. So I guess there's a respectful element to that. But I definitely can look back at their history of experiences, and it seems like they do have a fair amount of like juvenile dickish behavior.
Yeah, I've been there. I can't say I haven't been there.
Yeah,
I've been there. Comes with the territory.
Certainly.
Youth and parkour, you know.
Oh yeah, I guess that is parkour to some degree.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be.
It can be though.
Right? Do you have to do the jump to the bus? Can you just find it on a regular old building?
I don't know. A jump to a bus is pretty cool.
Do you have to jump down in front of traffic?
maybe that part. I don't know. Maybe there just wasn't enough planning for that stunt.
Yeah.
Maybe we're seeing a progression. With the quietly bringing up the sand and fist pumping the security guards and stuff and saying thank you and whatnot. Maybe this is a progression we're seeing in real time.
I don't know.
Of the we want to do these big stunts.
I'll tune in next week.
Yeah. Do they do weekly videos?
Sundays, Sunday uploads, okay. But I actually don't. Right. So they already came out with another video, and it's like the thing is they do a lot of clip jumping content because they're just big senders.
Yeah. Well, so, I actually wanted to mention too. Like, I think they are like the sendiest. It's not a word, but
it is sendiest.
Out of all the teams, like I think, and I would put it even if I considered like Capstone a team, I would say like Wizzy is pushing Send more than Capstone.
It's a bold claim.
Well, I just look at like the level of stunt, like the level of the amount of effort that's going into the Send. The amount of like we're going to prepare all this stuff so that we can do this.
The teamwork to build there's 3 guys who did the jump, but there's 6 of them or more who are involved in Wizzy Gang behind the scenes of all right, there's a guy on the bottom filming, there's a guy doing a drone, there's a guy up top filming, there's 3 guys doing the jump, there's people helping with sandbags and using a rope pulley, not a pulley, but they're pulling things up by a rope. Anyway, it's a whole mission, right? It's a whole setup that they're working with, and everybody has their role, and they're all doing the job to make this video happen, basically. It's cool, and I like to watch this type of content.
Yeah.
So, and it's well produced, and that's what the cool thing is about it, is that it's not just like a few guys with GoPros.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even seem like it's that much more to make it that well produced. Given because there was a clear story there, right? There's a clear okay, here's the challenge. Here's some other challenges that we're going to be facing to complete the challenge, and then you get some prep and stuff. Multiple cameras, they got a drone and stuff. That all is. I say the drone is probably the bigger production level, but everything else there is quite doable, I think, for most teams.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know what cameras Fat uses, but I'm pretty sure it's just GoPros, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to throw shade at Fat. I'm just saying that the production level is a step up from what is basically the standard.
Yeah.
Right? We could make a vlog entirely with GoPros, or we could have multiple higher quality cameras and a drone to film the entire process. Yeah. It's cool. Go watch Wizzy Gang. Let us know what you think in the comments. Also, go watch Juls' video because we're biased and we think it's awesome. And let us know if we're wrong, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think so. I just think that I definitely get moved that extra.
Yeah.
With the history.
Yeah, there's a lot of pride for me that I feel in seeing Juls do stuff at the level that he's at now. Because I remember when he was horrible at parkour. He was just not good. And then he just chugged away and progressed, and then his style changed. It's so cool. Yeah. Anyway, we don't need to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. If you're still with us here too, also please, again, if you haven't done that already, we're at the end of the video now, so you can always just shut it off after this. But leave a comment. Let us know if you like the idea of us trying to post smaller segments of these talks with video aids as opposed to the full episode on YouTube.
And if you like the video, click like, subscribe, show us some love, share it with a friend. And with that, we're out.